Thanks a lot, Alan, for joining us. And of course, we'll be talking about generative AI. So my first question would be, because we are seeing generative AI everywhere in the discussions, in the events. So my first question would be that how would you like to define generative AI, and how do you think it's different from the traditional AI applications?
Yeah, well, first, thank you for inviting me, right? It's lovely to actually join you in person, today. So you're asking this fundamental question, what is Gen AI and how is it different to the AI that came before, all right? Now, we sometimes describe the AI that came before as legacy AI, which is a bit of a joke, but Gen AI or generative AI is fundamentally different. It addresses what I would call the things that humans create: text, audio, speech, images, computer code, for example. So Gen AI is all about the generation of, let's call it human outputs, okay? Traditional AI, which was dominated by technologies like machine learning, was more focused on pattern recognition. So a good example of the use of machine learning, traditional AI, is for example, examining video feeds, looking at traffic, moving along a road, trying to count the cars, for example. That's an easy kind of use case. And as I said, Gen AI now more focused on human output. And this is why Gen AI has become the hottest topic in our industry or the world today, because our clients recognize that this technology brings three distinct kind of capabilities to our human kind of activities. It addresses human productivity. I can now write text faster. I can now write computer code faster. As well as productivity, it addresses quality. I can now write better computer code, right? The third aspect of Gen AI really is about velocity, enabling you and I and everyone else to create things more rapidly than before, whether that's PowerPoint decks, Word documents, blog posts, or computer code.
Well, you said this because as we know that generative AI helps in content creation and product design in creative industries, but would you like to give some examples how clients are leveraging the generative AI in their business?
Yeah, so you're asking for examples, right? Now, here's the remarkable thing, right? Our clients in every industry are consuming Gen AI today. This has been utterly amazing from my perspective, how quickly our clients have started to adopt it. Now, in terms of where they're using it, perhaps a year ago when we created or started our first kind of client projects around Gen AI, they were exploring what we would call horizontal use cases. The really good example is, I'm going to give my software developers access to a co-pilot and they now create code more quickly, right? Other examples of horizontal use cases, and we did loads of these a year ago, are around things like the contact center or the IT help desk. Can I use Gen AI to improve the quality of the work being done in a contact center? But that was a year ago. In this kind of first year of the Gen AI journey, we've now seen clients become very comfortable with those horizontal use cases. I don't know a single client who has not deployed Copilot technology into their software engineering domain and has not recorded dramatic productivity gains. And this has given them confidence to now come to us 1 year later where they want to deploy Gen AI into the core business. So we see clients weaving AI into business processes. We see clients now increasingly ask us, and we see this in the labs, they're asking us to build business solutions. And examples of things that we've done recently in the labs, Aditya, for a really good example, we've created clinical advisors. We've now used Gen AI to act or perform the role of a doctor or a medical specialist, right? We're using Gen AI to analyze complex policies at a speed and a level of accuracy that no human could ever really contemplate. More recently, we're seeing our customers deploy Gen AI maybe into their client-facing sales activity. We've recently, for example, created what we call a virtual shopping assistant. You can take a photograph of a product you might have in your home or your home workshop. Maybe you're not happy with the product. Take a picture of the product, we now tell you or recommend a replacement product from our client. So we're using GenAI to kind of just manage that engagement with clients more directly now. Long answer to your question, but fundamentally, it's showing up everywhere.
That's right. So would you like to give some, I would say, because like you said that it is impacting, the impact is not hidden. So how would you say that generative AI is actually fostering innovation and competitive advantage in the organizations?
Okay, so how does GenAI enable innovation, right, and let's say improve productivity in an organization? The productivity piece is really easy, right? Any business that has human workers, people like you and I, which is every business, of course, Aditya, can find productivity gains without too much trouble. This is the great thing about GenAI. It is very consumable. So whether I'm a sales professional or a marketing professional or a software engineer, the things that I traditionally create can now be created more rapidly, better quality, right? We know that. But you asked about the innovation question, right? So GenAI enables me to build intelligence into my business. I can take existing business processes and make them a lot smarter, for example. A good example of innovation that we've done with a client of ours is, think about an insurance company. We've all got insurance, whether it's our car, our home, or whatever. When I ring my insurance company because I've bought a new car, or maybe I've bought a ride-on mower for my garden, whatever it happens to be, I'm speaking to a salesperson, right? And I'm asking the question, I've just bought a new car. How does my policy change? Have I got the right policy? And we're now innovating that kind of customer experience, because in a lot of these customer exchanges, the human has limits to their capacity, right? Not many people understand all of the insurance policies that my company may have issued, for example. So we're using GenAI to now augment the capabilities of workers too. So we're seeing a lot of innovation in areas like the contact center. I mentioned the insurance company that's now using AI to help salespeople understand whether the client's current policy does cover what they need or not. So it's enabling innovation in so many different areas or use cases. A distinct trend that you need to be aware of is where GenAI seems to be gaining traction really quickly is any activity where what I would call human mental capacity becomes the limiting factor. A good example would be the creation of software, right? Software engineering is a hellishly complicated activity. If I'm trying to modernize an existing application, I need to understand the full extent of what's often a hugely complicated piece of logic. And you soon get to a point where the human brain, even the smartest developer on the planet, has a limit to their mental capacity. So we see lots of examples where humans can go so far but no further. Then AI comes in and it has this overwhelming capacity to handle complexity. AI can understand the entire code base of an application. AI can perhaps give better advice about how to manage or modernize complex applications simply because its mental capacity far extends that of a human. And it's a good example, we're talking about innovation, but it's a good example where I can weld AI to my human activity to give me this kind of superhuman capability.
Alan, we often hear that while you're implementing Gen AI, you have to be mindful of the ethical, legal, and the technical challenges. So, would you like to talk about some hurdles that organizations are facing while they try to implement the Gen AI?
Yeah, so there are hurdles, right? But I will say it's a lot easier and safer today than maybe it was a year ago. The conversations we were having with clients a year ago at an earlier stage in this journey don't appear to be so prevalent today because the industry technology has moved on quite a lot. But there are still limits to the technology. It's not infallible. It's improving daily. This is the remarkable thing. It is getting better so quickly. But in many cases, you still want a human in the loop. You still want a human supervising the quality, the veracity of the information coming from a GenAI system, right? Whether that's a software developer just looking at the code that's being created a little bit more carefully, for example. So it's not infallible today, but it's getting pretty good. And in some use cases, it is absolutely solid. Not in all, but in some, it's very, very solid indeed. So we're quickly getting to the point where I can remove the human from the loop because we trust the technology. But to be fair, today many people want a human overseeing the activity. I don't know how long that's going to be the case though, but it is improving rapidly. But the other concern, of course, is you just want common sense, quite frankly, when using this technology. You don't need to be too concerned about your corporate intellectual property escaping or being used to train a model for the benefit of a competitor. Those concerns have gone, right? We fixed those pretty quickly. But you still need to educate your staff to use the technology safely, because I'll tell you what it's like, Aditya. It's about what I would call the sat-nav problem, right? Now, where I live in the UK, I live in a part of the UK, it's called Cornwall. The roads are really narrow, all right? The houses are tightly packed together. And if you watch my local news, pretty much every other week, there'll be a news story about maybe a truck driver who's got their truck rammed between two houses. And you think to yourself, how did that happen? And it happened because they were blindly following the sat-nav. The sat-nav says turn right, I turn right without looking to see what's happening. It's exactly the same with GenAI today, all right? Use the sat-nav as an accelerant, something that's taking mental pressure away, in the same way that you should use GenAI today. It's pretty good, it gets it right most of the time, but a little bit like sat-nav, just make sure you don't get your truck stuck under a low bridge, for example.
So how do you envision generative AI? How do you think it will continue to evolve and, I would say, impact industries in the coming years?
So the evolution of GenAI is going to be pretty spectacular, right? You can see how quickly it's come over the last year. It's become very consumable, which means I can get access to it easily, all right? It's becoming very affordable indeed. Companies like Google have now woven AI into some of their consumer-grade cloud services. A good example, if you're a subscriber to something like Google One, as well as getting cloud storage, you now get AI as part of the package, for example, right? So it's becoming more accessible. As it becomes more accessible, you and me and everyone else, we're going to start consuming this more broadly. But it's also getting more accurate quite quickly. So that combination of improved accuracy, ease of consumption, and affordability, it means that GenAI is going to fall into the hands of all of us. What does that really mean? You're going to get to a point, I think, pretty quickly, where those activities that we all have to do that maybe we don't enjoy as part of our work. And for me, a good example would be the creation of PowerPoint decks. I hate creating PowerPoint decks, probably because I'm not very good at it, right? But every time I've got to create a PowerPoint deck, my heart sinks, right? And we're getting to a point, and I use it today, where PowerPoint decks, just as an example, instant, right? Tell it what sort of deck you want, the deck's going to come together pretty quickly. And we see that already, quite frankly. And this is not just about PowerPoint decks, but so many things that we do as part of maybe our office lives, our work environment, our home environment, will be augmented by GenAI. And I don't think there's anything for any of us to be fearful of. Right? This is about improving human productivity. And I have the benefit of being a little bit older than you, right? And when I think back to my childhood, for example, when I did my first examinations at school, it coincided with the introduction of the pocket calculator, right? And there was a time when people were horrified at what was going to happen to the human brain if a pocket calculator was doing all the sums for you, right? And maybe people thought we should still be using slide rules, for example, right? But we soon saw the pocket calculator as a useful tool. Then a decade later, with the advent of the PC, these things called spreadsheets came along, right? You can't imagine doing your job today without access to a spreadsheet like Microsoft Excel. But believe me, when these were introduced, people were concerned that it was going to kind of like, marginalize the human brain or whatever. And GenAI is just the next stage in this journey, right? It's about giving all of us access to far more powerful tools. It's going to make you more creative, definitely. It's going to make you more productive. I think it's going to improve your job satisfaction greatly. I'm sure you enjoy your job today, but there must be aspects of even your job where you'd like technology to step in and take away. So, in summary, I think it's going to enrich our professional lives as well as our private lives tremendously.
Right. Any takeaways that you would like to give for the audience on generative AI?
So key takeaways that I would like to give to the audience, right? I've already told you, this is moving far quicker than I think most people appreciate. I'm quite happy myself using GenAI in a business context. I'm happy to weave it into business processes, and that comfort is coming really quickly. What we are seeing, there are a number of key trends, though, Aditya, that people need to be aware of. Most of our clients today have started their GenAI journey with a hyperscaler because it's really easy to start by signing up to one of these cloud services. As our clients get close to production, they realize that the reality of GenAI is what we would call a hybrid multi-cloud journey, a little bit like cloud, all right? They realize they need to run AI everywhere. Proximity to data is a key characteristic that they need to be aware of. So it's a hybrid multi-cloud journey. We know that clients are going to want to build their own AI environments in their data center as well as in the cloud. But a really important kind of trend or an outcome is you will see that as you start to weave GenAI into your business, this combination of your data plus an AI platform quickly becomes a strategic asset. So the key trend that we're seeing is clients now look at GenAI as being a strategic investment. And maybe one of the takeaways really is to appreciate that it doesn't matter what company you're working for, this really is a strategic journey that the company is on. You need to be prepared for how am I going to run AI on all of these platforms, right? How am I going to manage them, right? And key takeaway, and we're seeing this now at this stage, is when you decide to run one of these GenAI solutions in production, you have to mentally adjust your thinking to accept that you're moving into what I would call an organic operations environment. What does it mean when I say organic? It means the AI, which is powering all of your business processes and applications, it's going to change constantly. It's going to get smarter, it's going to get more accurate, hallucination is going to reduce. So the models that are at the heart of this GenAI journey, and you've come across this reference to large language models, LLMs, they're improving constantly. So when I now take my solutions into production, someone has to be responsible for managing this dynamic, organic environment. And that's going to place challenges on the industry as well as our clients. Clearly, from an HCLTech perspective, we're ideally placed to help our clients achieve that. But there are some broader considerations around how I operate this in production that our clients are starting to move towards.
Thanks a lot, Alan. That was a whole lot of information. Thanks a lot for joining.
No, well, thanks for inviting me along today, and I look forward to the next time.
Thank you so much.